The story unfolds with a young boy who is an ardent admirer of Yurumin, a Japanese idol. In this particular scene, he finds himself at a backstage meet and greet with her. As Yurumin notices his presence, she inquires if he has attended such events before. Overwhelmed by her question, he showers her with praise for her captivating stage presence. It becomes evident that she is the sole idol he wholeheartedly supports, as he stands alone in the line of fans. In his eagerness to connect with her, he even purchases a CD as a means to strike up a conversation. She asks if a time constraint is needed for their interaction. However, it is worth mentioning that Yurumin's group lacks widespread popularity, and the primary reason for their relative obscurity can be attributed to one undeniable truth: Yurumin's singing and dancing skills leave much to be desired. In fact, she may very well be considered the least talented idol in all of Japan. He remains unwavering in his simple attire. Over time, both he and Yurumin have become acutely aware of each other's presence due to his unwavering attendance at all of her concerts and events. She takes notice of his consistent choice of dressing in all black and curiously asks why he always opts for that color. In response, he explains that black happens to be Yurumin's main color. She compliments him, acknowledging that black suits him well, despite his plain appearance. He addresses her with a newfound formality, expressing that there is something he would like to tell her. Surprised by his sudden change in demeanor, Yurumin inquires about the reason behind it. However, our boy, known for his straightforward and blunt nature, doesn't hold back. He candidly tells her that she tends to be quite clumsy, and her performances consistently fall short. Pointing out the timing issues and advising her on the final poses of today's show, he suggests that she shouldn't jump to the sides and advises her to pay closer attention to the music. Yurumin erupts with anger, accusing him of spending money just to criticize her performance. Despite her frustration, he clarifies that, although she may struggle as an idol, he remains her biggest fan. He acknowledges that she may not always get it right, but when she genuinely puts in effort, he sees her as the most adorable thing in the world. She becomes visibly flustered, beads of sweat forming on her forehead, but he persists. He might indeed be her sole supporter, and perhaps there isn't another soul in Japan aware of her existence. However, that fact doesn't faze him in the slightest. He is determined to shower her with such dedicated admiration that she'll feel like the most adored idol globally. Her blush betrays her emotions, but he remains fixed on her until a concert staff member intervenes and signals that his time is up. Abruptly, he turns away, bidding her a quick farewell and mentioning that he'll see her next time. With flushed cheeks, she contemplates whether his fondness for her might be a bit overwhelming. The following day arrives, and once again, they find themselves at one of Yurumin's concerts. After the concert, while gazing at him, Yurumin's eyes fixate on an object hanging from his neck. Surprisingly, she points to it, her curiosity piqued. He can't help but feel a surge of joy that she noticed. With a smile, he explains that it is a selfie she took during her very first concert, a precious memento that holds sentimental value. He playfully remarks that she looked adorable and had an ethereal charm, just like an earthbound spirit. These were some of the adoring words her fans showered upon her during that time. However, her initial surprise quickly turns into anger, and she demands that he discard those embarrassing pictures. In response, he presents her with a collection of photographs, emphasizing his intention to transform them into cherished family treasures. Yurumin is the sole idol that he supports, and the reason behind it is quite simple: she sings and dances terribly. Unfortunately, things aren't improving for her today. It's almost like watching a 5-year-old perform at a graduation ceremony. He never fails to cheer her on in front of the crowd every time she makes a mistake, which only serves to make her even angrier. What frustrates her even more is that instead of flattering her, he offers coaching lessons, leaving her feeling insecure and caught off guard. She is determined to make him feel that fluttery feeling inside, so she decides to unleash a wink in his direction. However, her attempt at winking causes concern among the onlookers, who seem to think she might be having a seizure or stepped on a Lego. The protagonist also appears puzzled by her actions since her usual clumsiness is meant to shine through with the wink. Meanwhile, she remains blissfully unaware and quite impressed with herself. But when she checks the boy's reaction, she is taken aback by his stoic and seemingly unmoved demeanor. She becomes utterly confused, unable to comprehend how he could react so indifferently to her adorable wink. After the group's performance comes to an end and she steps down from the stage, her only fan calls out to her from the crowd. He questions her ability to wink properly and even mimics the silly expression she made earlier, hoping to discourage her from attempting such crazy gestures in public. Confused by his actions, Yurumin bursts into laughter at the ridiculous face he's pulling. As always, her obliviousness prevents her from grasping the true intent of the situation. However, her radiant smile pierces our boy's heart and brings tears of joy to his eyes. Overwhelmed by happiness, tears begin to stream down his cheeks. Meanwhile, Yurumin remains completely oblivious and unaware of why he made that peculiar expression. It's uncertain how long it will take for her to realize the disaster of her own wing. When she finally meets him backstage, her first question is about the funny face he made. He confesses that he was imitating her failed attempt to wink. Skeptical, Yurumin dismisses his attempt and claims that he was far from accurate, and asserts that he's terrible at winking. Watching her like this shakes our boy's heart, and he finds her incredibly adorable. He challenges her to give her best wink for the next shot, and she accepts. He then has her take a photo of herself winking as a proof. The photographer asks him if he wants this picture. He's absolutely sure. While Yurumin desperately wants to see it, she finally realizes that her wink resembles a peculiar expression. She blushes with embarrassment and requests a retake of the photo. He takes it from her hand and denies her request. He then expresses his affection despite her quirkiness. In fact, he admits that's exactly the kind of unique thing he loves about her. The kind of thing you can find in the restricted section of a general store. Here we find ourselves at the backstage of yet another concert, where our boy encounters a fellow otaku named Everest. He is a devoted fan of Eru, a highly acclaimed performer from the group Merry Universe. Unlike Yurumin, who is known for her clumsiness, Eru is renowned for her exceptional performances and remarkable memory for her fans' names. Witnessing Everest's unwavering dedication to Eru, he offers him a rare Polaroid photo of Eru as a gesture of appreciation. In return, Everest proposes an exchange, an opportunity for our boy and Yurumin to have a photo taken together. Downplaying the value of this photo opportunity, Everest comments that it holds little monetary worth and wouldn't fetch even $1 online. As the protagonist stands there, dressed in his customary black attire, Yurumin notices him from a distance. He presents the ticket to the staff, arranging for 2 photos with Yurumin, despite his initial hesitation towards taking such pictures. Her excitement is palpable upon hearing about the chance for 2 shots, as it marks her first time experiencing such a privilege. Eagerly, she discusses the rare opportunity with her soul fan, planning to strike a special heart pose for the photo. Him being a devoted fan, is content with any pose she chooses. She is determined to provide him with a unique and special service by showcasing her heart pose, playfully suggesting that it is what he desires as well. As the cameraman instructs them to prepare for their first shot, Yurumin successfully forms a heart shape with her hands, but he fails to follow suit. She becomes angry at his apparent disregard for her, considering that she is the idol and he is her fan. He responds with a serious reaction, explaining that not all fans wish to engage in overly affectionate gestures with their idols, and furthermore, he is not particularly skilled when it comes to taking photos. She exclaims that this is the first time she has discovered a weakness of him, addressing him as Mr. Black, as he is usually the one who criticizes others. She instructs him to tilt his head slightly upward towards the camera and straighten his back. This time, they successfully pose for the picture, much to Yurumin's delight, as it was accomplished rather quickly. However, her happiness is short-lived, as the boy notices that her eyes are half-closed in the pictures, and her image appears blurry. He teases her, attributing these imperfections to her well-known clumsiness, referring to her as the Queen of Clumsiness. Yurumin is currently frustrated, as her supporter remarks that he surpassed his idol in these pictures, and it pisses him off. Nevertheless, in his opinion, the pictures are cute, but he finds himself in the way. Yurumin is filled with excitement as she participates in the fans' signing event, grateful for the opportunity to have 2 shot tickets. Earlier, while Yurumin and her friend Era were peering from backstage, she noticed that Yurumin's fan was present once again. She couldn't help but express annoyance, commenting on his seemingly abundant free time. Her friend reminds her that she has changed her behavior and prompts her to find out the name of her fan. It is at this moment that Yurumin realizes she doesn't even know his name, which surprises her friend, considering that the boy has been attending these events for the past 3 months. Understanding the importance of appreciating her fans, Yurumin decides to make an effort to learn his name and address him properly. As the meet and greet is about to begin, she plans to ask him directly. However, before she can utter a word, her only fan approaches her with a look of genuine concern and shock. Being the thoughtful person he is, he asks if she's all right. Yurumin is so flustered that she can't even meet his gaze. Determined to make amends, she expresses her desire to write his name and a heartfelt message for him. The boy, on the other hand, finds her choice of words quite unique, almost as if she were a samurai. Yurumin finally musters the courage to demand his name. To her astonishment, he unveils his true identity as Okuta Kamiya, causing her to scold him for revealing such personal information. Worried about the possibility of scams, she advises him to use a nickname or handle instead. However, while signing a picture for him, she mistakenly addresses him as Kaemiya. Undeterred, Kamiya is willing to go to great lengths, even legally changing his name at the town hall, just to accommodate her preferences. His infatuation with her drives him to adapt his identity for her sake. In an attempt to ease her worries about forgetting his name, Kamiya reassures her that it's perfectly alright if she forgets and suggests that she should focus on remembering song lyrics and dance moves instead. Understanding her tendency to forget names, he acknowledges that she may not recall it until the following week. Nevertheless, she assures him by calling out his name that it truly does matter to her and promises to remember it accurately without any reminders. She expresses her genuine desire to address him by his real name, without him having to remind her. Just as their conversation reaches this heartfelt moment, a staff member approaches Kamiya to inform him that his allotted time is coming to an end. In a bold and assertive manner, he opens his bag and exclaims that he wants Yurumin to have more than just his name. Tears streaming down his face, he wants her to have his credit card, his PIN, his location, and even access to his deposit box. His earnest desire is simply to be called by his name, showcasing the depth of his affection. Yurumin is currently participating in a fan meet and greet session after her group received positive reviews. However, she is feeling down as no fans are coming to meet her. She contemplates the possibility that she only has one fan, Kamiya. Suddenly, a guy named Everest approaches her and warmly greets her. She is surprised and questions why he, as a fan of Eru, is here. He explains that he ended up at Yurumin's meet and greet because he obtained a random ticket. These tickets allow fans to interact with a randomly selected idol, and they cannot choose or change the idol they meet. Yurumin believes Everest's praise of her cute stage appearance is just flattery, as she knows fans often focus solely on their favorite idol and struggle with conversation topics when interacting with a different member. Everest apologizes for his difficulty in engaging with her due to his admiration for Eru, making the situation even more awkward for her. To keep the conversation going, he asks about Eru and inquires about her lunch. Although Yurumin finds it odd to discuss the lunch menu, she shares the details. Surprisingly, Everest finds her lunch menu cute and mentions that it sounds like a wholesome meal, especially beneficial for her dancing. She is taken aback by Everest's sudden change in focus and mood when he asks about the source of Eru's meal. As Everest prepares to leave and expresses his gratitude, she reflects on their conversation and realizes that it revolved solely around Eru. She feels disheartened, thinking that they had nothing else to discuss besides Eru. However, at that moment, Kamiya arrives and asks for a ticket specifically for Yurumin. She brightens up upon seeing him and responds with a hint of offense at his tardiness. Kamiya explains that he was delayed because he was busy checking out the new merchandise, which happened to be in shades of black, just like Yurumin's signature color. As Everest is stopped by someone asking if he saw Yurumin, he confirms that he did and comments that she is just as she always is. They exchange remarks about how no one suits her stage persona, you are Yuta, more than her. They express the sentiment that observing Yurumin and Kamiya's dynamic from the sidelines is enjoyable and suggest that they are undeniably loved. We are at the scorching and overcrowded concert venue. Yurumin's band prepares to perform the final song of the night. Although her rise to popularity wasn't sudden, the presence of other bands competing in the battle of the bands adds to the pressure. The sweltering heat weighs heavily on both the fans and the performers, including Kamiya and Yurumin, intensifying the already challenging conditions. Her performance suffers under the high temperature, causing her usual struggles to worsen. Her mind feels muddled and confused, yet she fights to keep up with the performance amidst the adverse circumstances. As Yurumin's bewildering performance unfolds, confusion fills the air, leaving everyone unsure if she's dancing or attempting a rumba. To compound the situation, she even forgets her lines, unable to recall them in the heat of the moment. A moment of awkward silence ensues, with only the background music playing. However, Kamiya manages to overcome his own performance anxiety by shouting the lyrics to himself, and then loudly encouraging her to keep moving forward. Recognizing that he knows the remaining lyrics, he advises her to stop at that point. With his guidance, the concert is successfully salvaged, and as the day comes to a close, he reflects on the events that transpired. He acknowledges that perhaps he pushed the boundaries a bit too far, but in his perspective, as long as the end result is positive, everything else falls into place. Kamiya takes note of Yurumin's noticeable clumsiness during the performance. Approaching him, she kneels down and whispers a heartfelt thank you, a moment that deeply moves him. The dilation of his pupils reveals the profound impact of this touching gesture. She extends an invitation to Kamiya to join the meet and greet session. Fans of rival bands notice Kamiya's connection with her and begin to question if he supports her. They wonder if he receives any special attention from his idol. Reflecting on Yurumin's genuine approach, Kamiya realizes that she isn't particularly skilled at fan service. Her actions stem purely from authenticity. Despite recognizing her clumsiness in this aspect, he feels an overwhelming sense of happiness that could almost be described as euphoric. Yurumin's gesture has left him ecstatic, even if he perceives it as slightly excessive in terms of fan service. Kamiya couldn't shake off the impact of what he had just witnessed. When he finally met Yurumin backstage, her excitement is contagious. She expressed happiness that he had come as she had asked. To Kamiya, seeing her was all that mattered. She expected a lecture from him, thinking he would berate her for forgetting the lyrics during the performance. However, she noticed that he is behaving differently than usual, which intrigued her. Of course, we know what is on his mind. He mentioned that it was hot outside, using it as an excuse for his strange behavior instead of reprimanding her. Yurumin sensed something strange, as Kamiya usually advised her to learn the lyrics of her limited number of songs and often made remarks about her clumsiness, but this time, those remarks were absent. Meanwhile, Kamiya grappled with the decision of whether or not to inform her about what he had witnessed. He pondered the potential repercussions if someone else had seen the incident. It could have embarrassed or humiliated her. Ultimately, considering the gravity of the situation, he decides to disclose the truth to her. His aim is to ensure that she didn't repeat the same mistake. He finally reveals what he had seen when she sat down, expressing concern for her to be more careful. The moment was etched in his mind and would be a cherished memory. Yurumin is initially shocked to hear such words from him. However, she reassured him that there was no need to worry and explained that what he had seen was just a cover. It is necessary to wear a cover when they danced in miniskirts to hide their undergarments. Kamiya, on the other hand, wondered if what he had seen was merely a playful illusion, not the real deal. He felt a bit disappointed. Yurumin burst into laughter at his expression of disappointment, finding his reaction funny. She playfully questions whether he genuinely believed what he saw. She teases him about whether he truly wanted to see it that much. And of course, he did. Our boy shamelessly admits his desire to witness the moment. Yurumin is taken aback by his upfront honesty and asks him why he is being so forward. She inquired where his gentleness had gone. Kamiya calmly responds, acknowledging that sometimes one can lose sight of what's important to them. He reaffirms his heartfelt desire to see the moment. She angrily shouts at him not to mention it again. Unfazed, Kamiya calmly points out that he was merely responding to her earlier question about whether he wanted to see her panties. He tries to make it clear that it wasn't that he wanted to see a bunch of girls' underwear. He just wanted to see hers and tells her not to misunderstand him. She stands up and shouts at him to go home and take a shower with cold water, calling him a stupid pervert. Anyways, he had to go, so he bid her goodbye. After he was gone, Yurumin angrily ponders that he thought he could say whatever he liked. Well, she was pretty much free now too, since no one else was waiting to meet her backstage. So she headed over to the bathroom just to confirm that Kamiya didn't see what he thought he saw. It was optimistic, but judging by the color and shape of her irises, it could be said that he had indeed witnessed something. And it was a victory for Okuta Kamiya. Change in scenery. We now find ourselves in a different setting, alongside Kamiya. As always, Yurumin's song wakes him up to greet another beautiful day. He is now sitting in a lecture hall at his university, deep in thought about Yurumin's concert schedule for the month. Suddenly, a new character enters the scene, Kuzutani. He approaches Kamiya, attempting to strike up a friendly conversation while casually asking to borrow some money. Kuzutani reminds him of their friendship as a reason to lend him some money. However, Kamiya pokes his eyes and cleverly acknowledges their friendship but quickly retorts, pointing out that if they're truly friends, Kuzutani should consider returning the 500 yen he borrowed from him earlier. True to form, Kuzutani comes up with another excuse, claiming that he forgot his wallet yet again. With fake sadness, Kuzutani brushes off the idea of even buying inexpensive sweats. Frustrated, Kamiya notices something on Kuzutani's chin, which turns out to be a piece of food. Amused by this, Kimia wonders why he's friends with someone like Kuzutani. Their interaction seems to be just for fun, filled with playful teasing. Curiosity gets the better of Kuzutani, and he asks Kimia about the music he's listening to. He admits that he's listening to idol music. Knowing Kimia's inclination for such music, Kuzutani, who also knows a few idol groups, inquires about the specific idol group he is listening to. To Kuzutani's surprise, he reveals that he's listening to Yurumin's group and mentions her full name, Yurumin Yobi. However, his friend mistakenly believes that it is the name of some African athlete. Kimia corrects him, explaining that it's the name of the idol he supports. Neither Kuzutani nor anyone else in Japan knows who she is, and he continues to stress that it must be the name of an athlete. Kimia tells him to forget about the athlete thing, but Kuzutani's curiosity grows, prompting him to ask Kimia to show a picture of his idol. Eager to evangelize his buddy over to Yurumin's fandom, he searches for a good photo of her online. However, all he can find is a blurry photo that nearly gives Kuzutani a heart attack. Shocked, he asks if Kimia has shown him a photo of a ghost. Kimia quickly comes up with an excuse, telling him that Yurumin is just a little unphotogenic. But to Kuzutani's eyes, it's more than just a little. Despite this, he still finds the photo adorable, much to his friend's annoyance of him looking at the pic with such devotion. This time, we are on a subway heading to Shibuya with our boy Kamiya. He's excited about the concert that's happening at 7 p.m. On the way, he decides to make a quick stop at the supermarket to grab something. As he's on the subway, his phone chimes with a notification that Yurumin's group, Merry Universe, just uploaded an official music video. Kimiya can't help but find Yurumin adorable as always. Curious, he scrolls through the comments and notices a bunch of cautionary messages about a creepy man who has been showing up at underground idol concerts. But let's shift our focus to the other members of Merry Universe. Besides Yurumin, there's Era-chan, whom we've met before. Then there's Rue, who gives off a side character vibe. And lastly, there's Muchan. Eru expresses concern that they might be falling into a rut, which confuses the others. Mu clarifies by explaining that a rut refers to sticking to the same format and becoming stereotyped. This explanation leads Eru to humorously refer to Mu as an encyclopedia, calling her Mupedia. It's been 6 months since Merry Universe debuted, and they have become quite comfortable with being idols. However, Yurumin feels like she has just started, unlike the others. One of the members of the group, Popo, is not present as usual, leading to speculation that she may have lost interest. Eru is determined to bring a change for their fans and asks Yurumin about their average crowd size. Yurumin reveals that after half a year of performing nearly every single day, they've garnered about 20 regular fans. Currently, Merry Universe's performances resemble a classroom setup, where they have an intimate connection with their fans, knowing each one individually. There's a harmonious vibe between the group and their fan base. However, they yearn for a larger stage and aspire for something greater. Eru expresses her desire to gaze upon their fans from a grander stage and bring them even more happiness. In her view, this aspiration represents the fundamental duty of an idol, to create joy and fulfillment among their audience from a larger platform. The determination in Eru's words surprises the others, as she passionately discusses the journey from the deepest depths to the absolute peak. She believes that building an army of otakus will enhance their influence and power. This idea excites the other members, and they join in on Eru's quest for more power, convinced that gathering more fans will amplify the group's hype. On the other hand, Yurumin appears uncertain and not entirely sure of herself when asked about her feelings on the matter. She has been solely focused on impressing Kimia, but she keeps this to herself and agrees that she too wants more fans for the group's betterment. The other members tease her for having her own dedicated fan like Kimia. Eru encourages her to keep going and find more fans, urging them all to do their best. She finds herself contemplating how Kimia would react if their group gains popularity and attracts more fans. Eru proposes the idea of having a pep rally when Popo arrives, surprising the others with her choice of words. Amidst these discussions, Yurumin ponders the potential scenario where, despite there still being just one Yurumin, there would be countless fans in the arena, all showing support with black pin lights. She grapples with the possibility of Kimia feeling left out in such a scenario. However, she ultimately supposes that he would be okay with it, as he promised her unwavering support. After another one of her concerts, Kimia meets her and offers unsolicited feedback about her performance. He points out her usual mistakes, like being louder than usual and occasionally going out of key. Despite this, he also acknowledges tangible improvements in her performance over the months and compliments her. He emphasizes that he has been present for each of her concerts, solely watching her to give feedback based on observation. Yurumin feels confident about her progress, knowing she's constantly practicing and believes she's improving compared to her past performances. Following this conversation, she brings up the topic of eventually gaining more fans. She wonders how he would react if they couldn't meet as often as they do now. These thoughts linger in her mind, but she tries not to reveal them. As Kimia prepares to respond, someone appears behind him and interrupts their conversation, mentioning that Kimia has exceeded his time limit for talking to Yurumin. It becomes evident that she has gained another fan, as this person greets her with a smile that's more innocent than that of a newly hatched baby dove.
Here I am.